Greetings once again, friends. I apologize for the noise in the background, but I got to run the air conditioner. It's actually set on low. For those who've never tuned in before, I'm known as Dr. Kent. Full name is John Taylor Kent. I always try to get a flow of consciousness going, and in this particular case, I want to sell you on the idea of school shootings. Actually, what I want to do is I want to introduce you to the concept of brainstorming and developing some flexibility in your thinking. In other words, this is psychological treatment. Sorry, you tuned into my channel, so now I got consent to experiment on you. So I'm going to ask you to interact with me a little bit on this. I want you to keep an open mind. Realize I'm going to say some things that are totally absurd that I don't agree with and I don't believe in at all. But I'm trying to get you to get some flexibility in your thinking to break out of the prevailing brainwashing. I got some real bad news for you. There's a lot of benefits to school shootings. Who benefits from it? Well, the first benefit are these politicians that get their time in the news and get to generate all those funds from you dumbasses out there who think they're going to do something for you. The politician's not going to do anything for you. They're going to do it all for themselves. All they care about is power and money, and that's it. They don't give a damn about your kids, your education, or anything. So who benefits from school shootings? Well, the politicians primarily. The guys who want power and want to solidify power. Now, if you get rid of this particular administration, your school shootings will subside. School shootings were also prevalent during another gentleman's administration. He's actually behind this current administration, so if you can't guess his name, boys and girls, then you better go somewhere else because you're just a dumbass, and I'm sorry, you just don't understand. We get these school shootings by design. They're done purposely. A lot of things are done purposely, and you need to understand that I can fix it. I really think I could, but it's not as president. I'd need the power of a Führer. I know, I'm only going to say it once because I know that's going to be objectionable to you people out there, especially people of Jewish descent. They get very upset with that. Well, I got news for you. The Catholics insist we call them Father all the time. And the Bible says don't call anyone Father, except your Heavenly Father. Well, the advantages you have when you tune into my channel is my perspective comes quite a bit from the Bible. I exercise my mind on that. If I'm investing in my channel, I'm going to sit on my butt and read the Bible. I got a good solid 15 years of sitting on my butt and reading the Bible. Now you can get ahead of me on this by buying the Bible that I offer, always in the notes. It is the latest and the greatest and the best Bible, and you can beat me at the game. At my own game. How? Well, I'm biased by these previous versions of the Bibles that I have read before. Started with the NIV, got biased by that. Word for word translation is very good. I think the poetry in it's good too. There are problems with it. Then I went to the King James Bible, decent version of that, and that sets up a lot of biases and assumptions the way it's written. So this modern version that we have, the proper name version of the King James Bible, is not going to lend itself to a lot of assumptions. But here's your problem. You go to church. Yeah, that's your problem. You go to church and somebody up there tells you what the Bible says, or they claim they know better than you do what the Bible says because they went to seminary school. Well, I got news for you. You can read the Bible and come up with better ideas than they're ever going to give you. Reading it yourself is for you. It is your education. Now, as far as education goes, I don't want anything to do with these public schools. I mean, if they use the original reading primer upon which our nation was founded, which is the Bible, then I might be into it. But they don't do that. I also don't like them because I think of them as just nothing but prisons, industrial prisons, where children waste time. They get burnt out on their creativity. They get indoctrinated into the Marxist ways. And I'd like to fire all these teachers. There's no such thing as a right to an education, certainly not a free education. And think about it. Is somebody going to give you an education that's going to help you with overthrowing their yoke upon you? No way. They're going to educate you so you can be good little boys and girls, good little subjects, and minding your P's and Q's just the way they want so they can keep you enslaved. They want you just bright enough so you can contribute to their worthless campaigns, their worthless asses, and just bright enough so that you can take care of your bills and stay hooked into the media and stay hooked into credit and all that other stuff. Yes, I could fix your school shooting situation. What shall my wages be? Quite seriously, what should I be getting paid for helping you to stop the school shootings? Well, let's talk about increasing them a little bit. We have to build up this current administration. I assure you, you'll get more school shootings that way. We have to send more money to these particular politicians that are mouthing off about they're going to change things when they're not. And we also have to give them money, having faith in their ideas, and their ideas have been proven wrong over decades. Gary Kleck, at the University of Florence, I believe, he decided he was going to research the number of times guns were used each year in defense of life and property. And he was anti-gun when he started. But by the time he was through doing his research studies, doing the surveys that he did, he came up with a really wild figure. 1.2 million times a year, minimum, 2 million times a year on average, a firearm is used in the defense of property and life. Boy, I'll take those 1.2 million any day over these school shootings, as horrible as they are. Now, these last shootings appear to have been, there appears to be some grooming going on in the background. There appears to be some targeting of young people. About 5 years ago, a couple in the state of Indiana complained and went public. And by doing that, they saved their son. They complained to the FBI, who did nothing because they're in on this miserable game as well. The complaint was that the CIA was grooming their son to become a shooter. The son was about 21 years of age, and he was borderline schizophrenic. In other words, he had some instabilities. And their son was off in California being groomed up to become a shooter. And they did their best to get him back. And the only way they stopped it was by going public and declaring the truth, which is that they had good evidence that our government was grooming them to be a shooter. Now, false flags don't mean that they don't occur, and it doesn't mean that nobody dies. The sinking of the Maine was a false flag. When we looked at the records, we could tell it was blown from the inside. And yet we try to say that the Spanish blew it up. Same with the Lusitania. We think that that was sunk by a U-boat. Well, the U-boat captain testified and had his logs, and he said he was shocked at the size of the explosion from one torpedo. He figured he was going to use 3 or 4 torpedoes to get that thing in the water to sink the ship. He only fired once. And then the explosion that was set to go off inside the hull just blew that thing right out of the water. Oh, and Winston Churchill and His Majesty's Royal Navy was at the controls guiding that ship into that submarine. And they actually had the ship's engines hobbled so it couldn't go as fast and couldn't avoid being torpedoed. And it was carrying a huge amount of munitions. It was a legitimate war target, in other words. But look at what happened in Texas. Listen to that carefully to what that young man's mother said. Now I'm going to call him a man. He's an 18-year-old boy. Mother said he had good reason for doing what he did. Now, I haven't listened to it carefully, but I want to know what her thinking is. I want to know, was anybody grooming him? And was there any chance that over the last 4 years had he been identified and been targeted to become a shooter? Yes, you need to be open to the idea. The other thing you need to be open to the idea is that maybe we shouldn't have any more drills. No more drills. You may think, well, law enforcement has to be prepared. Oh, bullshit. these drills go live way too often. We had a drill in 9/11 at the same sort of drill that was going on as the real attack that occurred. It went live. There was a drill in 2019, just before COVID started out. Gee, was that a drill that went live? You tell me. I'm just asking the question. We had the shooter in Buffalo. We had the shooter at the synagogue a while back. There was word that that guy may have been played as well. That may have been set up. The Pulse nightclub in Florida was definitely a false flag. That was all staged. And then we've got Sandy Hook, which we never got to the bottom of. However, I'm going to tell you this right now. They never solved the Kennedy assassination. So what good is the FBI? What good is the CIA? They never solved the Kennedy assassination. I'll tell you why. They were in on it. The FBI, under J. Edgar Hoover, killed, murdered at least 31 eyewitnesses to the John F. Kennedy assassination. They were covering it up while their buddies did the deed. There were 2 CIA operations in Dallas that day. And one of them was supposed to have been a false flag to have framed the Cubans up for an assassination attempt on our president so we could justify going in and invading Cuba. But there was another one led by James Jesus Angleton on the Israeli desk in the CIA that went live and killed the president. Oh, and Robert Kennedy. They never solved that assassination. From what we can tell, Sirhan never hit him with one of the rounds he discharged wildly. And there were like 15 rounds discharged from a revolver. There were 2 revolvers going off. They never solved that crime either. But yet we get the Gun Control Act of 1968, and they can't solve the crime. The Gun Control Act of 1968 should be repealed. Then I found out on the National Firearms Act that suppressors, which protect one's hearing, weren't even part of the original legislation. And the ATF added it on their own to the list of things they want to tax and regulate. What a violation of law, violation of rights. That needs to go away. The entire NFA needs to go away. And the ATF, I stood by them. Why? Because they're the ones that turned in the Oklahoma City bombing 6 weeks before it occurred. Who told them to stand down? The FBI. The FBI told them to stand down 6 weeks earlier, and the bombing occurred. And we really did kill 19 children in the bombing at Oklahoma City. That's all on the FBI. Our founders never envisioned having a policing at the federal level. Policing policies, policing was reserved at the level of the states. And there was argument at the time of the creation of the FBI. Now, it wasn't called the FBI, but that same year they gave us the Federal Reserve, which is in violation of the Constitution, unconstitutional as hell. There was also the creation of the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, in 1913, whose sole mission is to defame other people to be able to dominate. And today you wonder who's in charge. Well, I can tell you it's not the president. The chairman of the Federal Reserve has got more power than the president has. I think it should be illegal to have a drill anymore. However, this is the tip you need to know. We can fix it all. Klaus Schwab is right. We need a reset, but not his reset. We need a return of the republic. We need to restore our republic. If you read the Constitution carefully, you will find the word necessary occurs only one time in the entire Constitution, and that is in the Second Amendment. A well-organized militia being necessary. And that's the part of the Second Amendment they took away from us in 1902 with the Dick Act, otherwise known as the Militia Efficiency Act of 1902. Look, folks, we're in the crosshairs. They're going to take us down. The inflation's not going to go away. It's going to be 33% here, probably in the fall. And they are trying to force us into the green revolution, and it's an impossibility. It will not work, and they know it. It's just a way to take us down, because you dumbasses buy into their global warming hobbledygook. Carbon is a result of the warming. Carbon does not cause global warming. The majority of the life on the planet is carbon-based. This is carbon-based. You're the carbon. I'm the carbon that they want to get rid of. Oh, and by the way, that stuff you call fossil fuel, it ain't fossil fuel. That's a big lie. Oil should be regarded, rightfully so, as a mineral which the earth produces and continuously produces. So it's there for the taking and for our uses. You can't make it on nuclear energy, not since the Clintons sold 20% of our uranium to the Vladimir Putin. You can't make it alone on solar power. You just can't do it. You can't get the batteries going. And the batteries that we have are dangerous as hell. People want to know, what do we do with Tesla's batteries when we're done with them? Well, I'm going to tell you this. If one of those things is ever irradiated in a nuclear blast, it's going to be more toxic and more poisonous and with a longer half-life than the nuclear bomb that irradiates it. He never should have been allowed to make those bomb batteries of his. That was bombastic to allow him to make a hazard like that. And of course, where are they all at? On North America, which means our continent will be poisoned for long after the rest of the world's recovered from such a thing. And they are trying to give you a nuclear war. I don't care what you think or what you believe. They're going to give you one if they can do it. Why? Because we're onto them, and they're losing their power, and they're very much afraid. They don't have power legitimately, and you know that by the 2,000 mules. The evidence is there. It's not in black and white, it's in color. It's on the screen. What you need to understand is we don't have a republic and we don't have a democracy. And there's not going to be a reset, and this inflation is not transitory. They're going to keep on going until we cannot defend ourselves. You can't defend yourselves. You can't have a strong military if you don't have oil. So this is an existential threat. Why do you think Vladimir Putin took it so personally over there? Well, one was that he got targeted personally, but the other one, he recognized it as an existential threat. But you dumbasses in the United States think you're the greatest and the latest and nothing bad can ever happen to you. I got news for you. A lot of bad has already happened to you. We've already lost a third of our population. It's just a matter of time. That's what the shakeup's going to be. Oh, you want to know where the statistic is at? It's in the Bible. That's just the first wave of death that goes through the country. You need to understand, we're playing for keeps. We're playing for all the marbles, as one teacher said. You need to understand that this is not a game. This is not a drill. And the people that are at the helm, the people that are in power, are doing this on purpose. It's not because of incompetence. It's by design. They're doing as they're ordered. This is well orchestrated. 10 years ago, Bilderberger made an announcement. They're going to take America down. And they cheered 10 years ago. That's what this is. And you may think, my God, we need to put the wall up. No, you don't need no damn wall. You need a will, not a wall. And you have no will. And what should the will be? It should be a felony to be inside this country illegally. Stop with your, we have to invite the guests in and we have to cater to them. Most of them will not abide by our laws. A lot of them are incapable of that. They can't assimilate. They're not assimilatable. And in case you're wondering, I thought Mississippi was a problem state when I lived there because the average education was 10th grade. I got news for you. Mississippi, that's 70% black, by the way. Mississippi is genius level compared to the state of Arizona. State of Arizona at the turn of the century was 7th grade level on average. Right now, the average education level in Arizona is probably 5th grade at best. So you're importing all of that illiteracy, and you're importing all of that dumbass stuff where you're going to have more accidents. People don't know how to behave. They don't have good judgment. They're going to be dependent on us. And so you people are too busy going for free things. I don't like to take free things. Sure, if something comes along after a purchase, I consider it bought and paid for. But you guys that think they're going to give you something for free, well, you wanted the free checks, and I warned you, you're going to have $5 gasoline. We're past that. We're on the way to $10 a gallon gasoline, and we're going to go past that too. They're destroying the dollar by design. This is on purpose by the central bankers. The war is a banker's war, and at this point they're desperate because they've got to get this war going in order to cover up their crimes because we're waking up too fast. Trump isn't that good of a guy, but he did some right things. He didn't do everything right, though. You need to understand, school shootings are going to get worse. If you want to recover the republic, you restore the militia. The governors have to call for their militias, and the militias should not be funded one iota by any government. The only funding for the militia should be in the defense of the militia by the states, because a militia member has to have the power and the backing to act as delineated in the Constitution to quell insurrections, which means your state government is going to have to defend your state militia, going to have to empower him so he can do his job. Constitution says quell insurrections and defend our borders, repel invasions, and you could send the militia into the schools with arms, and they can put down school shootings everywhere because they won't be beholding. And you're still going to have your CIA and your FBI running this bullshit in the background. No, I can't prove it, but I know it's happening. And if you really want your republic back, stop turning to the government. Even Ted Cruz is wrong. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. No, you aren't. We restore the militias, and we give the militias power to patrol our schools with rifles, sidearms, shotguns, whatever they need, full automatic. Yes, the Second Amendment's there. A militia member should be able to have any weapon he can handle, any weapon he can manage. He should be able to have that. As a matter of fact, his commanding officer should say, so-and-so needs this. Give him a selective fire AR-15. Now, how did this young man get a Daniel Defense firearm? I mean, I'd like one of those. They're pretty pricey, though. I'd like a lot of them, as a matter of fact. But I really don't care much for that style, so I buy other stuff. But the fact is that how did he afford and get such fine armaments and ammunition? How did he get all of that? Who backed him? Who put him up to this? Who groomed him? Who trained him? And who's the dumbass who trained the police in that town? And who trained those teachers? Look, I don't want a public school system. I think they should be fired and all sent home and sent packing. Get rid of the cabinet position, Department of Education. Just fire them all. They've done a lousy job. And Texas dominates the nation by picking our textbooks for us. And they haven't done a good job. Texas shouldn't be able to do that. You parents need the authority. You need to pull together, and you need to pay for it yourself. I don't want to be responsible for those little urchins that do all that havoc out there and do that stuff. I don't want to be responsible for them at all. I don't think there should be a free education because a free education isn't a good education. Remember, I've got 5 degrees, but I didn't consider myself educated till I sat on my derriere and I read the Bible. And I read the Bible and I read it again. And only then was I beginning to feel like I had an education. You want to stop school shootings? Call the militias up. Start them up. There's plenty of men that will volunteer. My God, I told the people, the Republican Party in Arizona, the first man who calls for a militia publicly is going to become the next governor. Just imagine how much money would flock to your coffers from around the world, not just the country. The people around the world know more about the truth of our own nation than we do. They know about our elections and what's happened. And they know that we've been misused and we don't. We're walking around like a bunch of narcissists. Oh, we're the best in the world. Nothing bad could ever happen here. It would never happen here. It could never happen to us. That would never happen here. Bunch of dumbasses. Look at what's been going on. They've been poisoning us slowly over the years. They've been using aluminum, sugar, heavy metals, all kinds of chemicals they've invented that have never been tested properly, that they've allowed to be used upon us. Between 100,000 and 300,000 new compounds have been devised since World War II. And how many of those are carcinogenic? How many of those are teratogenic, meaning cause birth defects? A lot of them. The cause of most of the mental illness is manganese and aluminum. Physical causes. It's called poison, toxicity. And you people think that you're going to turn to this mental health that we have today when they've undermined this nation by running their programs like Learned Helplessness, forcing diversity upon you, saying that you have to accept all this other bullshit, and this other bullshit, these other people don't have to accept you. You walk into a psychologist's office and tell him about you want to straighten yourself out, that you're not sure what you are. He's going to force you to become homosexual because the licensure boards require that. What kind of bullshit is that? If a client walks in and says, this is what I want to be, I'll help them sort it out. And I don't care if they want to be straight. Yeah, that's right. If they want to be straight, I'm not supposed to help them. I'm supposed to help them accept their homosexuality. What homosexuality? They could be bi for all I know. They could be anything. But those people are insisting that we have to help them accept their homosexuality. I'm sorry. There's people out there that aren't homosexual that have been fooled by the bullshit going on around there. There's a lot of people that change their minds. What's wrong with the client dictating what he wants for a result? And my field is populated with libtards, super liberals. Do you expect somebody that has liberal values to respect your conservative values, to take good care of you, to treat you with respect, to not be condescending? Oh, and they're going to give you the bad label. They won't even bother to work it up completely. They won't even bother to diagnose you properly. They won't get to the bottom of things. And the medical doctors are the worst yet because they think they know it all. They love playing God. Man, don't you realize it's a military, oh, I'm sorry, I screwed up. Medical, military, industrial complex? Hasn't the medical profession, hasn't that made your attitude towards their profession change a little bit? The psychologists are just as bad. The attorneys are just as bad. The dentists are just as bad. Everything has been perverted and used against us. All the professions are turned against the laity. Okay, I'm going to put this, well, it's Musings again. And it's not morning, and I've been off air because my phone's been down. They replaced it. This is my third phone, and the phone's made the same mistake. I can't recommend Samsung. Their top-of-the-line flagship phone isn't ready, and I just don't know what to make of T-Mobile. They've done the best they could to take care of things, but they made the same mistake. I got tech help from T-Mobile again. I did the intervention he recommended. I don't have any confidence this phone is going to straighten itself out. Another thing is I've got so much data on here already I got to learn how to transfer the data and back it up to a bunch of other hard drives so I can save these videos. What you're going to get when you listen to me is you're going to get some unbrainwashing, if you will. You're going to get some brainstorming. You're going to develop some mental reasoning, some mental flexibility. I'm going to challenge your thinking. I'm going to hopefully get some flexibility in that mind of yours so that you aren't prematurely aging. I want you to understand that this is the end, folks. We don't have a republic. The republic's been dead for a long time. And we don't even have a democracy. So don't tell us your democracy is at risk. And we don't have any money. They stole all the money quite a while back through a series of frauds that started in the 1800s. And they gave us our stock market. The Rothschilds give it to us through Alexander Hamilton, whose real name was Levine. Okay, I apologize for the sound quality. I got to run the air conditioner. I tried to make a deal on a diesel pusher that had ducted air conditioning that would be helpful. I've been trying to get things set up so I can give you better sound quality. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your encouragement. Share this with others as you feel you want to. You are going to hear about how to restore the republic here. You're not going to get it anywhere else. Sorry, others have an idea or two. And I will tell you who I got my ideas from or who's inspired me. I'll tell you all of that. I'll give you the references. But in a lot of cases, I'm the reference. And it's from me that you got it. It's my ideas. And they aren't good enough, to be honest with you. Some of you youngsters out there are going to be, some of you 19-year-olds are going to be able to generate better ideas and better thoughts. And you're younger and you're sharper. You don't have as much pollution in your body yet from the food that they're feeding us. I walk into a store and I look and all I see is poison everywhere. Yeah, low-grade poison, slow kill. You watch this, you're going to understand the Bible a lot better. You watch my channel, you're going to understand the culture war quite a bit better. There's a lot of things I'm interested that I want to cover. I don't know which direction to go in. Some people just say hi. I don't respond to that. One guy said hi and then sent me a bunch of threats. Okay, great. So I need more than a one-word thing to respond to. And I don't check on things all the time. I'm busy with some other things. So if you're going to pray to Yahweh. If you're going to read the Bible, whatever Bible you read is the right Bible for you. Whatever Bible gets you reading it, that's fine. But remember, these Bibles with their footnotes, a lot of the footnotes are totally corrupt. The worst Bible in the world is the Schofield Reference Study Bible. It was given to you by Samuel Untermeyer. And a committee of rabbis wrote that up, and they used Schofield, a disgraced, unethical attorney in Michigan, as a front to publish that thing. And they try to tell you that Moses was a Jew. There were no Jews in Moses' time. The Jewish religion didn't exist until the return from Babylon. And the Jews tell you that in their own encyclopedia. But don't go broad brushing all Jews as being bad. Most of these organized religions have problems. I'll get into that. If you want to know more, you can check out my other content, my other videos. I'm putting those up and leaving those up as best I can. I tend to use a stream of consciousness, and I get off track. I do. I'm an older gentleman. That's all there is to it. I'm not that young. I'm not getting any younger either. I wish that you youngsters would wake up and throw off this bullshit that those people my age and younger put off on you, because they're enslaving you in the future. And this is a system of frauds. There's 4 different corporations called the United States of America in a giant shell game. And the Securities and Exchange Commission is nothing but a system of frauds that they're pulling. Your social insurance, your social security is another fraud that they pulled. You kids are worth probably $2 or $3 million and you don't know it. We don't know how to claim that stuff. Oh, the IRS never was voted on. It's not legitimate at all. There's a lot you got to learn. Right now, though, you need to be prepared to defend. And I really mean it. Because George Washington's vision, since you stayed to the end, this is the tip you're getting. In his final vision is that we succeed. We restore ourselves. We get the great reset. But it ain't Klaus Schwab's reset. We restore the republic. The Jeffersonian republic. Not this Lincolnian republic, which is a miscarriage of justice in so many ways. The original 13th Amendment is the law of the land. All other amendments are null and void. Get that one through your thick skulls. You've got to embrace the 13th Amendment. That's how we get this back. You also have to start the militias up as fast as possible, because all of our guests that have been brought inside the country, they've got weapons caches stored around the country, and they get full autos. The full automatics have been distributed for years, for decades, in Los Angeles and Chicago. You listen to those boys on the streets in Chicago. Now, I'm not trying to be a damn racist because I use the term boy, but those young men on the streets report they walk into the alleys and there's cases of full selectable automatics there, and they know they're illegal to possess, but they just take them as they want, and there's cases of ammo there too. These guys have been trying to kick this thing off for years. It's not our CIA. The British started it and they never handed it over to us. And the CIA killed Kennedy, which is why President Trump refused to release the Kennedy assassination files, because you would have found out the truth about that. And the FBI whacked the damn eyewitnesses, at least 31 of them. So they're pretty bad as well. And there's no justice in the country anymore. There's none. I suggest you take up arms to hold your ground and be able to defend yourself. Abide by the 10 Commandments, read the Bible, and start to get control of your own mind. Don't waste your time going to one of these organized churches. They're all controlled by the State Department. They're told what they can preach from the pulpit. They have to preach that all men came from Adam, which is a bunch of bullshit. All men didn't come from Adam. Adam was placed here last. All the others were here first. That's my best guess. I could be wrong about that. If you got a better idea, if you want to correct me, comments are open. Good day. Yahweh bless.